All right, so we've decided to build out our own separate airdrop component and then just bring it into our main. So let's go to our components folder and create a new file. And we're going to call this file airdrop, essentially, right? .js. All right, so let's just hash out a little bit of React setup here. Pretty basic. So we've done this a few times, so hopefully you're getting the hang of this a little bit now. Import React. We're going to have a component, and we're going to bring this in from React. Okay. We don't need the semicolon. All right, and no, I don't need an idea, Mr. Lightbulb. All right, so we were importing React component. So then we're going to do class React. It's going to extend our component. Okay, and then we're going to render. If I can spell render today, and we're going to return something. Okay, and we're going to have a div in here for now. All right, and then we're going to export default airdrop. So we can export it and bring it in to our application effectively. Oops, extends component, not extend. I don't know why this render thing showed up. You don't want to write that. We don't need React DOM rendering. That's it. Okay, so this is our shell for our class React extends component. No, what's the mistake here? We're naming what we want our airdrop to be called. So it should be class airdrop extends component. Okay, yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so now this is correct. We have the shell out, dished out. So what do we want to do next? Well, let's think about what it is exactly we want to do and write for this airdrop. So let's just hash this out together. So we want our airdrop to have a timer that counts down and returns. All right, sorry, we don't have a timer that counts down, but we only want to initialize this countdown after our customers have staked a certain amount. So 50 tokens, right? So what are we going to need to do that? Well, the timer is going to have a timer functionality. So we're going to have timer functionality. We're going to have a countdown. We're going to have a start timer functional, right? We're going to be able to start the timer. We're going to have state for time to work, right? Because time's going to change. The seconds are going to change. We need to keep track of the time. And we're going to have to hook it up to the blockchain, right? So that's essentially everything that we're going to need to do in order for this to work, right? Because we're going to have to hook it up to our hook this up to our staking tokens, because we're going to have to check that when we've staked tokens, that's when the timer should go off, when we've staked a certain amount. So that's it essentially in terms of what we want to do. So let's go ahead and start doing it. So what would be the first thing that we want to do here? Well, let's actually write a constructor, right? Because our constructor essentially is where we can hold our state. We can instantiate a new object for our state, and we can create methods that can effectively render the dynamics that we need to have. So we do that by creating a constructor like this, like we did last time. And the constructor is going to take a super. And essentially what the super is, or what the super does, it's for the subclasses, because the constructor, it doesn't belong to any objects here. We're creating a new object effectively when we're working with this constructor. So for our subclasses, we need to call the super. And if that's confusing for now, the biggest takeaway here is that if you need to have the super here in your constructor. You just got to call the super with your constructor. And the more you use it, the more you're going to get used to it. And you can check out the resources that I added in this course on JavaScript and React for constructors. So constructors, if you want to get a deeper understanding on that. But for now, we're going to do that. And now let's initialize some state. So let's do this.state. And what do we want our state to be? Or what do we want to initialize state to be? So we want to have a timer, right? And the timer is going to be an object. Actually, you know what? Let's call this time, because we're going to have timer is going to be separate. Timer is going to be for timing things. So we're going to have time, which is going to be an object, right? Our time is going to be an object. And we also want to have a countdown that we can display. And we're going to do that in seconds. because I don't want us to wait hours or days. Now, if this is a real application, obviously maybe you don't want the airdrop to happen seconds after they do it. Maybe you do. I don't know. That's up to you. But we're going to just to see this working, we're going to do seconds, and we're going to do with a value of 20. So 20 seconds. Okay. So that's it for our state. But let's go ahead and also add some more functionality here. So what else should we have? Well, we said time, so we're going to also want a timer. So why don't we set up a timer so we can say this dot timer, and our timer is going to be 0, right? We're going to just initialize it at 0. Now, what else do we want to add? Well, we want to have a start time, right? So when we start the time, and we want to have a countdown. Those are two other pieces of functionality that are going to make sense to have for our timer. So we're going to say this dot start time. And what we need to do is, since we're going to make this into a method that we can use from our constructor, we're going to have to actually bind. So we're going to do bind.this. And again, this is something that you just have to do, just like calling super to this. And whoa, sorry, I just made a mistake here. It needs to be this dot start time dot bind. We are binding this, essentially. So we're taking the this keyword and we're binding it so that we can actually call this. And we're binding to this so that we can actually set this to be bound. That way we'll be able to find it. So what this does is we're just binding the start time. Now, if this is a bit confusing, again, you can read up more on the constructor. I'm going to provide the resources. But for now, this is something that you get used to doing unless you're working with hooks in React. It's a syntax that you really do get used to. So let's do a countdown as well. Okay, so the start time is bound by this. We have a timer at 0. Countdown also is binded. And we have set our state to an object, and in our state, we have our seconds, which will be counting down, and the time, right? In general, we're going to have the time as an object. Okay, that's it for setting up our shell for our airdrop and initializing our state and getting our constructor going. In the next video, let's build out some functionality so that we can get this timer to be working. So we're going to be doing some basic math. It's going to be interesting, right? Because we have to create the timer. So we're going to have fun with a little bit of math. And don't worry, we'll be using calculators. We're using a calculator for that. And some JavaScript methods to round everything, because we can actually have fractions. So that's it. That's it for now. And I'll see you in the next video. All right. Bye.